Chapter 13, A War History That Sold. What became of the test on Simonds' History of the World War and the Emerson Institute of Efficiency while all this O. Henry selling was going on? You have probably asked that question several times while listening to the last two chapters. They were not neglected, you may be sure, even though they were outshone. Mr. Lanier and Mr. Stone were two good businessmen to ever keep all their eggs in one basket. The time when one product was going best was always the time they were testing most assiduously to find something else to take its place when it was sold out. The efficiency course tests did only moderately well. We sold perhaps $150,000 worth of them a year for the next 2 or 3 years, but never enough to get wildly excited about. Compared to the sales we were making on books, the results from the letters on this course pale into insignificance. But just as samples of success course letters, we give a few of them here. Letter number 1. You've got to have more money. Living expenses, food, clothing, rent, amusements have doubled or more than doubled in cost. How can you increase your earnings enough to keep up with these increased costs? How, without speculating or gambling or changing your line of work, can you double or triple your income in a reasonably short time? There is only one way you can do it, and that is by using all of your powers, 100% of your abilities. Instead of the 10%, 25%, or 50% used by 99 men out of 100. Professor William James, one of the world's greatest psychologists, says, "As a rule, men habitually use only a small part of the power which they actually possess. Compared with what they ought to be, they are only half awake. Their fires are damped, their drafts are checked, they are making use of only a small part of their possible mental and physical resources. Success, in short, is simply a matter of intelligent direction of your own powers. All the essentials of success are within you. They are simply awaiting proper development. Our industrial captains, our merchant princes, our financial kings, our intellectual leaders, all started their careers with a mental and physical equipment no greater than that of the average man's. They made their success by using all of their powers instead of the small percentage utilized by the average man. Now be honest with yourself. What is the barrier that blocks your progress to the things you most desire in life? What is it that keeps you from making more money? Isn't it inefficiency, failure to use to capacity the powers with which you have been endowed? Efficiency, 100% use of your talents, would bring you immediate advancement, would enable you to double or treble your income, especially now when there is so great a demand for big men to fill the many big jobs that have been created or left open by the war. With efficiency behind him, any man, regardless of previous training or education, can hold down the biggest jobs in the business world today. Ordinary ability, properly developed, says Theodore N. Vail, president of the American Telephone and Telegraph Company, is all that is necessary to reach the highest rung in the ladder of success. That ability you have, the development must come through efficiency. Properly directed, the latent ability in you will enable you to reach any height to which you may aspire to realize ambitions that now seem impossible of attainment. For anything that you have to do, whether it be the building of a skyscraper, the managing of an office, the winning of a bigger job, there is but one efficient way. One best way of doing it. Efficiency will point out to you that one best way. Efficiency is common sense applied. It shows employers how to increase profits. It shows employees how to increase their earnings. It shows the professional man how to get more out of the day's work and out of life. Efficiency, however, is a science with definite laws, and the average man is no more familiar with its vital principles than he is with the principles of any other science of which he has made no study. In the Emerson course, you learn from a master of efficiency the fundamental principles that are responsible for all successes in life and business. Not only do you learn these principles, but you receive actual training in their application. Harrington Emerson is rightly regarded as the central figure of the worldwide efficiency movement. He was the first to draw the attention of the nation to the elimination of industrial waste, first to formulate and apply the principles of efficiency to industries, and first to conceive of the application of these principles to the individual. For 20 years, Emerson made notes and collected data for a course in efficiency for the individual. During this time, he and his associates were in close touch with every scientific and technical advance, collecting and recording over 25,000 examples of modern progress in efficiency. Then for 2 years, competent assistants traveled with him and aided him in building up the course. When it was finally finished, after being rewritten a dozen times, Dr. Walter L. Hervey of the New York Department of Education was engaged to go over the course word by word with Mr. Emerson's assistants to be sure that everything which modern scientific educational methods could add to it should be added. Experts in home study courses and the science of efficiency were engaged to organize the Emerson Institute, which watches over the work of the students, helps them over the hard places, incites them to give their best to the study and get the best it has to give, which answers any and all questions and insists on seeing that the course really accomplishes Mr. Emerson's purpose. Thousands of dollars in money and the time of some of the highest paid men in the country were freely spent in preparing the course. It represents the knowledge and experience gained in 40 years of work in over 200 plants, many of them the largest of their kind in the whole world. For his work in just one of these plants, Mr. Emerson was paid $500,000. Yet we offer you the results of all his research and experience, made up into 24 lessons for only $1.25 a lesson, $30 for the 24 lessons. Payable $1 with order, $2 in 1 month, and then $3 a month for 9 months. Examine the first 3 lessons at our risk. The enclosed order form will bring them, each one a week apart, subject to 30 days examination. Read them, try them out. If you are not more than satisfied with the results at the end of 30 days, if you cannot see where they will double or triple your earning power, send them back and your first payment of $1 will be refunded immediately and in full. Remember, Mr. Emerson is no mere theorist or dreamer. He is a wide-awake, world-famous professional man, one of the busiest business engineers in the country. In his very first big job, the savings effected reached the enormous sum of $1.5 million per year, while the amount paid him for his services was $150,000. The Western Union Telegraph Company, the Gorham MMF Gowon Company, the Mutual Life Insurance Company, the Corbin Lock Company, the Yale and Town MFAG Company, and scores of other nationally known concerns have themselves subscribed to the Emerson course in personal efficiency for large classes of their employees. The Scoville MF Giboig Company of Waterbury Connaught alone gave us a class of 324 men, for which they paid us $11,080. Merely attach your check or a dollar bill, which will be returned to you after you have seen the lessons if you decide not to go through with the course, to the attached order form and mail in the enclosed envelope. The first lesson will go forward immediately and the next 2 will follow a week apart. Remember, this order is simply an opportunity for the course to sell itself to you. There is no sale, no obligation to keep it, until you have tried it out in your own home for 30 days and are satisfied. Just let us send the first 3 lessons for your examination. But remember too, in the great book of time there is but one word, now. So send the order now while you think of it. Sincerely yours. Letter number 2. If you are to find the best, easiest, and quickest way to the desirable things of life, you must begin by developing efficiency in the handling of time. So, Lesson 2 of the Emerson course in personal efficiency is devoted to keeping a record of your time. This record will measure your progress and show its direction. It will warn you of wrong methods and inefficient operations. It will show the way to shortcuts and furnish a basis for all future work in efficiency development. We are mailing Lesson 2 to you today, although your first payment of $2.50 has not yet reached us. However, $2.50 a month, 80 cents a day, is so trifling a sum compared with the dividends in actual money that this course will pay you, and pay you immediately, that we are sure your failure to forward your first payment has been due merely to oversight on your part. Day after day, letters pour into us telling of revolutionized lives, increased earnings, greater health, savings in time, in money, in effort, greater efficiency, greater happiness. There is the merchant who increased the business of his store $36,000 a year as a result of efficiency. There is the man who had to borrow the money to subscribe for the course, and who is now, as a result of efficiency, the president of a large pneumatic tool company out in the Northwest. This man thinks so much of the course that every year at Christmas time, he gives a number of them to his friends. There is the young fellow just out of school working for a salary of $35 per month. Through the course, he got the training that enabled him to fill a position paying $250 per month. One man writes, I'm 58 and I've just begun to live. Another says, I've been born anew as a result of efficiency. One man tells us of increasing his monthly earnings over 1,000%, another of tripling his business before finishing the course. For everything that a man wishes to do, whether it is the building of a skyscraper, the writing of a novel, the managing of an office, the winning of a bigger position, there is but one efficient way, one best way of doing it. The purpose of the Emerson course is to enable you to find that one best way so that you can accomplish easily and quickly the things you have to do as well as the things you want to do. Efficiency is a science with definite laws, and the average man is no more familiar with its vital principles than he is with the principles of any other science of which he has made no study. You are probably doing the best you can, but the question is, are you doing all that you are capable of doing? Are you making full use of your powers? Think of the times when you've yearned for a bigger future, when you've grown impatient with the barriers that seem to hold you down, when you've heard of the career of some acquaintance whom you knew to be inwardly no more capable than yourself. Here's your chance to equip yourself for success, as few men are equipped, under the guidance of probably the greatest efficiency engineer the world has ever known, at a cost to you of only 80 cents a day, $2.50 a month. Surely you will not hesitate to spend that amount for the best services of a man to whom the great corporations of the country have paid as high as $500,000 for similar work in their organizations. You realize the necessity of personal efficiency if you are to get ahead. You can see the danger and risk of leaving the question to chance or convenience. You know that indecision, putting things off, is dangerous. Here is your chance to start today. Don't put it off. Don't wait until tomorrow. You know they say that word tomorrow has been the cause of the Spanish people's decay. When you want a Spaniard to do anything, he always says, tomorrow. And tomorrow is never here. Today. That's the word for you. Pin your check or money order for $2.50 to this letter and return in the enclosed envelope. Do it now. Sincerely yours. Letter number 3. If the world's greatest efficiency expert, after 40 years' experience in reorganizing and getting maximum results from factories, stores, offices, railroads, and mines, were to offer you the results of all his years of experience, if he were to tell you that he would follow you around, check up your every move, show you how you could better your methods here, save time there, accomplish more with less effort, and double or treble your earnings, if he could convince you that by following his instructions, by adopting the fundamental principles he lays down, you could reach any height to which you might aspire, realize any reasonable ambition, no matter how impossible it may now seem of attainment, you would certainly consider no ordinary price too high to pay for his services, would you? Well, that is, in effect, just what Harrington Emerson offers you. For 40 years, he has been the central figure in the worldwide efficiency movement. During that time, he has handled more than 200 different plants, many of them the largest of their kind in the world, and so great has been his success that some of the fees paid him ran as high as $200,000. The same principles that he used in directing the work of those great corporations are just as applicable to you, for the principles themselves are fundamental. And the point where Mr. Emerson always begins, whether he is handling one man or 1,000, is to develop their efficiency in the handling of time. So, Lesson 2 of the Emerson course starts with a record of your time. This record will measure your progress and show its direction. It will warn you of wrong methods and inefficient operations. It will show the way to shortcuts and furnish a basis for all future work in efficiency development. We are mailing Lesson 2 to you today, although your first payment of $3 has not yet reached us. However, $3 a month, 10 cents a day, is so trifling a sum compared with the dividends and actual money that this course will pay you, and pay you immediately, that we are sure your failure to forward your first payment has been due merely to oversight on your part. Probably you have often wondered how so many men with little education have swept forward to success, while other men with the best of training and seemingly greater ability have floundered around in the ruts of failure. Out of more than 4,000 American millionaires, all but 20 started life as poor boys. What power was responsible for the rise of these men from poverty to riches? These men got there because their ambition was backed by hard work and efficiency. a combination that no set of circumstances can ever beat. And their careers were marked throughout by their ability to do them better than they had ever been done before, by ability to make every minute and every action count for the most. Given a high degree of efficiency, a man can snap his fingers at luck, laugh in the face of opportunity, and turn his back in derision on that overworked excuse of the self-acknowledged failure. External factors. It is this success-making quality of efficiency that is taught by the Emerson Institute. Here, you get the real secret of success. Here you learn what it is that makes men succeed in life. Here you receive careful and scientific training in the qualities you must have to achieve your life aim. Merely attach your check or money order for $3 covering the first payment of this course to this letter, and return in the enclosed envelope. You will look back upon it forever after as the passkey that opened to you the door of success. Very truly yours. Simonds' history, however, did very well, and while it did not pay out on as large a number of lists as O. Henry, the list it did work on pulled surprisingly good percentages of orders. Here again, it was the scheme that sold rather than the copy. When I went with the review, they had sold only 5,000 sets of Simonds' history in over 2 years. In the next 2, they sold about 70,000, at from $17 to $25 a set. It wasn't merely more effective copy that made all that difference. It was the plan behind the copy. We had been trying to sell the books as the most graphically interesting and authoritative history of the war, and they wouldn't go. Why? Because the war was but just over and most people felt rightfully enough that the fact we're not all out yet and they would wait to get their history until the real inside story was available. So we had to find a reason why they should order at once. We found it in a premium, 6 little volumes of intensely interesting true stories of the war. We offered them free if the reader would send in his order at once. What happened? Instead of 5,000 sets in more than 2 years, we sold nearly 35,000 in less than 1 year. Then the sale dragged. What should we do? What had succeeded on O. Henry? A last chance offer? So the second year we made it your last chance to get true stories free, and sold another 25,000 sets. Following that, we tried out various premiums and managed to dispose of some 5,000s to 10,000s, but none of them ever showed the vitality of true stories. Then, too, the public taste for war stories and war histories showed a sudden and most decisive drop about a year after the armistice. So we felt that we did well to sell as many histories as we did. Here are some of the most effective letters and circulars we did it with. While they last, Duru's History of the World free. Dear Sir, for years now you have heard of Frank H. Simonds. You have seen his articles in the newspapers and magazines and thought that someday you would own a set of his History of the World War for yourself. But you have put off the sending from month to month. The time for that is gone. Now today, you must order your set of Simonds to get with it. Duru's History of the World free. It happens that we have left over from a huge edition a few hundred sets of this wonderful world history, over 3 million copies of which have already been sold. These few hundred sets are not enough to sell in our usual way, so while they last, we will give one of them free, with each set of Simonds' history. In Frank H. Simonds' History of the World War, you get the complete, authoritative, permanent story of the Great War, the only narrative history of the war that has yet been written. In Duru's wonderful volumes, you get the history of the world before. They show you the glory that was Greece and the grandeur that was Rome. They guide you through the Middle Ages, the picturesque days of feudalism and the Crusades. They take you through the Renaissance, the revolution in art, science, and letters. They show you the recent history of Europe and how for 100 years it has been shaping itself towards the gigantic conflict just ended. Your last chance to get Duru's history free. There are only a few hundred of these sets left, just a remnant of our last big edition, and they won't last long. Now, while you can, get your Simonds history at its regular price, and this greatest of world histories free. This is your chance. The card brings you both sets, the 5 magnificent volumes of Simonds, illustrated with over 1,000 paintings, drawings, and photographs, and the 4 volumes of Duru, free. We pay all the charges. When you get your set of Simonds history, look over its lustrous pages, a quiver with the thrilling story of the greatest conflict in history. Then, if you don't think it is well worth the price, even without the 4 free volumes of Durui, send it back. Otherwise, 500 a week makes both sets your own, an endless source of inspiration and delight and pride. Send the card now without money, while you can get one of these few sets of Durui's history free. This is your last chance. Sincerely yours. This letter, as you will notice, offers Durui's History of the World as a premium. It is just an adaptation of a similar letter that offered true stories. We wanted to find the most effective premium possible, so we tried half a dozen different ones. The next letter shows still another premium. Tumulty's Wilson. As I Know Him. Both of these pulled reasonably well, but nothing to compare with true stories. Here is the Tumulty letter. Did you ever get $10 for nothing? Here's your chance. If your card comes in before January 1st, we will send you not only Tumulty's Story of Wilson, for which the New York Times paid $25,000 and which added 50,000 new subscribers to their list, but in addition, we will send you, without extra charge, H.G. Wells' Outline of History in the new thin paper single-volume edition. In other words, by mailing your order at once, you get 2 $5 books without 1 cent of cost. Dear Sir, at last. The long silence that President Wilson's friends have maintained in the face of the most astounding accusation ever directed at a man of international prominence has now been broken with challenging answers. Joseph R. Tumulty, for more than 10 years private secretary to Woodrow Wilson, has written the inside story of the vital period of his presidency. He solves questions that have been puzzling the public for years. He discloses government secrets known only to the innermost circle. He unfolds the record of America's part in the war as viewed by the chief executive. Nothing in American history equal to this story has appeared since Nicolay and Hay's Life of Lincoln. The New York Times paid $25,000 for the exclusive rights to it in the Middle Atlantic states, the highest price ever paid for such a series. It has brought the Times more than 50,000 new subscriptions. Because it is so timely, because it throws such interesting side lights upon the history of the war, we offer it to you free with Frank H. Simonds' History of the World War. In Simonds' history, you get the complete, authoritative, permanent story of the Great War, the only narrative history of the war that has yet been written. In Tumulty's intimate, fascinating story, you get the secret history of the United States at war, inside fact that the average man has never even dreamed of your last chance to get this fascinating volume. We were able to secure only 1,000 copies of Tumulty's famous book at the special price, which enables us to give it free with Simonds' history. 1,000 copies won't last long. When they are gone, you can get this volume only at its regular price in the bookstores, $5. Now, while you can, get your Simonds history at its regular price, and this most interesting of inside histories free. This is your chance. The card brings you both sets, the 5 magnificent volumes of Simonds, illustrated with over 1,000 paintings, drawings, and photographs, and the big volume of Tumulty's free. We pay all the charges. When you get your set of Simonds history, look over its lustrous pages, a quiver with the thrilling story of the greatest conflict in history. Then, if you don't think it is well worth the price, even without the free volume of Tumulty's, send it back. Otherwise, 500 a week makes both sets your own, an endless source of interest and delight and pride. Send the card now, without money, while you can get one of these few volumes of Tumulty's Story of Wilson free. This is your last chance. Sincerely yours. After the sale was all over and neither True Stories nor any other premium seemed able to resurrect it, we still sold about 10,000s with the old standby, the damaged set letter. That is one letter that has never failed us after any big sale. We used it on O. Henry, we used it on the photographic history of the Civil War, we used it on Simonds' history, and later, as you will see, it worked just as successfully on traveling bags, even on bed blankets for the Warren people. You see, in selling any big stock of books, you are bound to accumulate a large number of rubbed or slightly damaged sets. perfectly good in every respect except that they cannot be sold as new books. Many of them have had the covers bunged up and being returned by customers after examination. Many others have a page torn or a thumb marked, but for all practical purposes, they are as good as new books. They form the basis for the damaged set sale. The trouble with us has usually been that these damaged set sales so far outpulled any ordinary circulars that the orders kept rolling in long after the damaged sets were gone. On Simonds, for instance, we had some 3,000s actually damaged sets, and we got about 10,000 orders. Those extra orders were not costing us anything, so it was actually profitable to fill them with brand new books rather than turn them down. This reminds me of a time when we were holding a similar sale at Warren on traveling bags. As usual, we got a lot more orders than we bargained for. One day, the shipping clerk happened to come through my office. "How are the damaged bags holding out, John?" I asked him. "Oh, we're getting enough," he said. But, he confided, "I'm getting damned tired kicking holes in the sides of the packing cartons just to make those bags look damaged. Here is the letter that caused all this trouble. A few imperfect sets at a big discount. Dear Sir, in the rush and excitement of selling, in 2 years, 75,000 sets of Frank H. Simons's History of the World War, there was no time to pay attention to technically imperfect or slightly injured sets. Except to lay them aside as they appeared, some of them were wrongly bound, some slightly damaged from stockroom handling, so slightly that you would have to make a close inspection to discern the damage, but still, you know how it is. They cannot be sold as perfect books. So rather than send them back to the bindery and give the binders the profit of rebinding, we have decided to let the advantage go to a few book lovers, to people like yourself who love good books for the book's sake and not for trifling details about them, and to offer these magnificent sets at 30% off the regular price. Only 157 sets left. We have just 157 sets of these books to sell at this low price. When they are gone, it will be impossible to get Simonds' History of the World War at less than its regular price, but while these few sets last, you may have one of them at this big discount, and you can pay for it in little, easy monthly payments. Every set we guarantee to be in satisfactory condition. In some cases, only one volume is not quite perfect, but as only a definite number of sets were contracted for with papermaker, printer, and binder, one hurt volume means that a whole set is technically damaged, even though 4 volumes are absolutely perfect. And in some cases, it takes an expert to find anything wrong with the 5th. In one case, the binder made a mistake and bound certain volumes of a set with gray linings and the other with blue linings. For all practical purposes, these sets are perfect. Some subscribers might even prefer blue and gray linings, as sheets and covers are mainly without a blemish. We will, of course, ship the books subject to your approval, to be returned at our expense if not satisfactory. We always do that. Signing and mailing the enclosed card puts the burden of proof upon us and incurs not the slightest obligation. But you must act at once. There are only 157 sets left, and the best ones will naturally go to those who reply first. So, sit down right now and put your name on the enclosed card and drop it in the mail. Very truly yours. How is it that a letter which sells histories and O. Henry stories in unusual volume is just as successful in selling bed blankets and traveling bags? Because the one constant factor in selling is human reactions. We seldom try to sell merchandise. We sell ideas. And my experience has been that a fundamentally sound idea which will sell books in great volume will be just as successful in moving traveling bags or bed blankets or any other merchandise if properly adapted to them. The adapting is the job. Many writers make the mistake of thinking that if they copy the wording of a successful letter, their letter is bound to pull too. There is no bigger mistake. The wording counts for little. It is the way you adapt the idea back of the successful letter that counts. The best illustration of this I have seen was at Warren. A couple of men who had been with the Warren Company for several years, one in the advertising and the other in the list department, felt that they had all the information they needed as to copy, lists, and product, and started a rival mail order company of their own, getting a local merchant to back them. They used the same lists of names the Warren Company had been using. They copied letters and circulars almost word for word. They offered the same product. Yet from the very beginning, they were a failure. And in a couple of years' time, they passed completely out of the picture. Why? A dearth of ideas. They thought mere words could do the trick. Words are empty sounds. It is the images back of them that counts. And that is the end of Chapter 13. If you would like to grab your copy of the Robert Collier letter book, click the link in the description and you will find it available in German, Spanish, and French, alongside many other fundamental marketing books. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more direct response content. See you in the next one.